Shiva Swami Goswami. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Om Vishnupad Purnamhansa Pariprajapacharya Stotra Sri Srimad A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai, Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Shri Vasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopinath, Shama Kund Radha Kundagiri Govardhan Ki Jai, Vrindavan Tham Ki Jai, Navadvip Tham Ki Jai, Jagannath Puri Ki Jai, Ganga Mai Ki Jai, Jamana Mai Ki Jai, Tulsi Devi Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Gaur Premanande. Hari Hari Bol.
Welcome everybody to Caitanya Charitamrita reading with His Holiness Jayādvaita Swami. It is Thursday, January 29th, 2026. We are beginning with Caitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, Chapter 1, Text 34.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Prabhu Agyai Koilo Shab Shastrer Bichar Roger Nigurtha Bhakti Gorilo Prachar. The Goswamis carried out the preaching work of devotional service on the basis of an analytical study of all confidential Vedic literatures. This was in compliance with the order of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Thus, one can understand the most confidential devotional service of Vrindavan. Purport. This proves that bona fide devotional service is based on the conclusions of the Vedic literature. It is not based on the type of sentiment exhibited by the Prakrita Sahajiyas. Prakrita Sahajiyas do not consult the Vedic literatures, and they are debauchees, woman hunters, and smokers of ganja. Sometimes they give a theatrical performance and cry for the Lord with tears in their eyes. Of course, all scriptural conclusions are washed off by these tears. The Prakrita Sahajiyas do not realize that they are violating the orders of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who specifically said that to understand Vrindavan and the pastimes of Vrindavan, one must have sufficient knowledge of the Shastras, Vedic literatures. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhaktya Shrutagrihitaya. This means that devotional service is acquired from Vedic knowledge. Tachchadadhana Muniya. Devotees who are actually serious attain bhakti, scientific devotional service, by hearing Vedic literatures. Bhaktya Shrutagrihitaya. It is not that one should create something out of sentimentality, become a sahajiya, and advocate such concocted devotional service. However, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur considered such sahajiyas to be more favorable than the impersonalists, who are hopelessly atheistic. The impersonalists have no idea of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The position of the sahajiyas is far better than that of the Mayavadi sannyasis. Although the sahajiyas do not think much of Vedic knowledge, they nonetheless have accepted Lord Krishna as the Supreme Lord. Unfortunately, they mislead others from authentic devotional service. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshun Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupakadam Mahyam Tadhati Shapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Jatapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavascha Shri Rupam Shagrajatam Sahagana Laganatan Vitam Stam Sivida Sadvaitam Savatutam Virijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakhan Vitamscha. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate O Pesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Tapta Kamshana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vanchako Patarubhyascha Kripa Sindho Pyevacha Patita Nam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vashali Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Ram. Prabhuji, can you look in this black luggage and see if you find a gray pouch with some of these in? Oh, Nana Shastra Vichar, and Vichar means careful consideration. Analysis, consideration. Nana Shastra Vicharane Kanipana Sattharma Samstapaka. To establish genuine religious principles, the Goswamis carefully studied all sorts of Vedic literature, Nana Shastra, many different writings, Puranas, Upanishads, Vedas, Pancharatra, because Bhaktya Shuddha Grahita, Jnana Vairagya Yukta, devotional service, genuine devotional service, will naturally have knowledge and renunciation. So this, so bhakti is not something just sentimental. It's not imaginative ecstasy, but it's an authentic, the most authentic method of spiritual realization, firmly established on the basis of Shastra. Otherwise, Shruti Smriti Purana Adi Pancharatra Vinambana Vaikantiki Harir Bhakti. No, not there, Prabhu. No, hello, not there. You're in the wrong bag. I said the black bag. Shruti Smriti Purana Adi Pancharatra Vinambana Vaikantiki Harir Bhakti Rupadaya Makopate. Devotional service that disregards the authentic evidence of Shrutis, Smriti, Puranas, Pancharatri Giviti. That kind of so-called devotional service is only a disturbance on the genuine path. So the Goswamis taught the genuine path, taught the genuine path upheld by substantial Shastric evidence. And the Sahajas say, oh, you don't have to, oh, gray, that color. But it's not the only one, there are others. Yes. Thank you. So well, okay, I think we've made the point. Any questions or comments?
Praveen Prabhu writes, are they still existing?
Or who's they?
Praveen Prabhu writes,
Yeah, they're doing a land office business. They're very much still existing. Prakrita Sahajas means that those who take everything to be easy or cheap, and Prakrita means materialistic. So there are many groups still that take it as a very cheap thing. There's an annual gathering, not quite sure where it is, a very famous gathering in West Bengal every year, where many kirtan groups come, professional kirtan groups, and there's very sophisticated Leela kirtan, and it's quite the gathering. And from what I understood from Bhakti Charanaj and others, so many of them are bombed out on ganja and so on. Apart from, as Prabhupada mentions here, intoxicants, womanizing, sentimental philosophy. What is that? And misconceptions, and I'm Radha, I'm Krishna and you're Radha, and all this kind of stuff. So all sorts of intimidated material activities in the name of devotion service. So this is Prakriti Sahaja. Basically, any devotional service where they don't follow the rules and regulations is just sentimentality and so on. This becomes Prakriti Sahaja, that we become devotees very easily. And how is that? Well, we don't have to follow any of these principles from dusty old books. We just follow our hearts. Now, this is very much present today. Yes, very much present today. All right. Saraswati and SSD. Who's first?
Saraswati Machi had her hand first, as far as I can tell.
Pranams, Param Pujya Gurudev and all the Vaishnavas. Guru Maharaj, when they talk about this group, Gaura Nagaris, I think they refer to as Sahajas, but I'm not sure where they're going wrong.
There's a number of them. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur lists Owl, Baal, Saki Beki, Jat Goshai, Gauranga Nagaris. Gauranga Nagaris want to worship Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the mood of his being Krishna, the supreme enjoyer. That's their approach. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu doesn't present himself as the supreme enjoyer and doesn't want to be worshipped as the supreme enjoyer. So what else the Gauranga Nagaris are up to, I'm not quite sure, but that's their fundamental deviation.
So Guru Maharaj, how are they much better than Mayavadis? I'm not sure.
They're better. That Prabhupada explains. They may be contaminated by Mayavad, and they're certainly contaminated by illicit activities and oppositanta conclusions contrary to the Vedic conclusions. But they're attracted to Krishna. They accept that Krishna is the supreme, and they're attracted to Krishna. They may have all sorts of misconceptions about Krishna. They may think so much nonsense, but you'll see they'll chant the holy name of the Lord with tears in their eyes, or they'll chant very loudly and whatever. And you don't have to argue with them that whether Krishna's the God or whether he's the absolute. Yes, he is. Just their method of approach and their understanding are all messed up because they haven't followed the path of the 6 Goswamis, haven't studied the writings of the Goswamis and followed the conclusions. So they take things cheaply. But still, Krishna's God. That's there, so they're better. Mayavadis, Krishna is just a manifestation of Brahma. Ultimately, everything is impersonal. There's no form, no qualities, no nothing. Everything is one. But for the Prakrita Sahajas, no, this isn't acceptable. Krishna is Bhagavan. He's the personality of Godhead. Now, where we go from there is another story, but at least they've accepted. Just like among the scholars today, there's some who are very interested in bhakti, and they're even fascinated by Krishna's pastimes and his qualities and the history of his devotees and so on. They like to study that. They have their own mental concoctions. They don't take up the process of devotional service, although some do. But for the most part, it remains an academic study. But somehow or other, they've chosen to study Krishna. So in their conferences, they'll talk about Krishna, they'll talk about Vrindavan. So they may not understand it all that well, the way that a devotee would understand it. They may not follow the principles of even the basic principles of devotional service, but somehow they're attracted to Krishna, if only to study him. So they're better off. From another point of view, we say they're not very well off at all because they're speculating and they're Maya, Pratyagyana, and so on. But somehow they've got a little attraction to Krishna. So they're better than so many other scholars who are attracted to dry, mundane topics without a hint of Krishna consciousness. Somehow they're attracted to Krishna, they're interested in bhakti, if only to study it. Their studies may lead them to the association of devotees. They may go to Vrindavan to do some research. They become fortunate. At least to some.
So Guru Maharaj, is that the same, Sahaj is the same as Mishra Bhakti?
Same as?
Mixed devotees, Mishra Bhakti. Mixed
No,
devotees.
no. The Karma Mishra Bhakti, Jnana Mishra Bhakti means I still have some attachment to fruitive activities. I still have some attachment to mental speculation, or even to impersonalism to some extent. But I've accepted the path of devotional service. I've accepted the path of devotional service. Only, I haven't given up my enjoying propensity or my speculative attachments. So in that way, but I can still be practicing bhakti according to the rules and regulations under the direction of the spiritual master in the association of devotees. But because I'm not yet sufficiently advanced, my devotion is still mixed with some karma, some tendency toward mundane pious activities. My devotion is still mixed with jnana, some tendency toward mental speculation. But I'm on the path. But the sahajas, utpata, they're off track. They're off the path because they don't follow. The good thing is that they've accepted Krishna as Bhagavan. They don't follow the authentic path of devotional service. So the Karma Mishra Bhaktis, Jnana Mishra Bhaktis, if they continue to follow, they'll be purified. And the sahajas will take a lot longer time. Hare Krishna.
Hari Gupta Peru writes, we get groups here in Taranpur from time to time, crying during their performance, then drinking tea and chatting with the ladies after the performance is over with their slick black hair and ready smiles.
Yes. And that can go on in the Western society also. I know of one kirtan group, and anyway, I know of kirtan leaders who are well known and well regarded, but who take intoxicants, and they somehow figure that they can mix both things, taking intoxicants and dedicating themselves to Hari Kirtan. So that's not a very good combination. One should seriously try to follow the regulative principles. Then one's chanting will be effective. Hare Krishna.
SSD, would you like to say something?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. I had a question around the kirtan. If you have somebody performing kirtan who's not following the standards, will that pollute the mind of the listener?
Yeah. What is that? The Prabhupada said one should not hear the chanting from non-devotees, and then he quotes Sarpochishta Yatapaya. That if we hear from those who are not devotees, it will not be good. It will be like drinking milk touched by the lips of the serpent. Let's see. Yes, Vaishnava Mukod Girnam Bhutam Harikatarnatam Shravanam Naiva Kartavya Sarpochishta Yatapaya. the chanting the holy name is pure, the pastimes are pure, everything's pure, but the poison is not pure. So we associate with kirtan leaders, and we're in ecstasy with their chanting. And then afterwards they invite us, come on, we have another kind of ecstasy. And then they break out the hash or whatever it is. So by hearing them, we become misled. We take their association and we become also polluted. So one is advised to hear from the lips of pure devotees, not from those who are not following the regulation principles.
In this case, I'm also thinking too, with digital media, and we have our devotee community. Many devotees might be excellent kirtaniyas, but there's not really any way to check their sadhana. So in that case, it also has an effect on our mind, doesn't it? And what can one do in that instance?
Yeah, well, digital media is hard to sort out what we're getting. That's a fact. But what can we do? We try to hear from those who we believe to be in good standing. And there's so much to be said, actually, for simple kirtan, sitting down with devotees face to face and having nice kirtan for thousands of years, actually, since Mahaprabhu's time. That's what they do. The devotees sit down, they chant Hare Krishna, and it doesn't have to be a big international digital event. We do our best. We can't guarantee, yes, all the kirtan leaders will be certified pure, but we try to invite those who are following.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for the question.
I put myself in the queue for a question.
Okay.
We discussed that there's a group of sahajas who consider Lord Chaitanya who think of Lord Chaitanya as the supreme enjoyer. Is that right?
Yes.
So how do we understand that and make sure we're not doing that? Like, what does that mean? Like, how can we avoid that mentality? I know we have the Gora Arti where we're worshiping Lord Chaitanya. Is there any caution we have to have there in how we're thinking of Lord Chaitanya?
No. As if I recall, the problem with the Gauranga Nagaris is they, well, let me just think about that a second. Yeah, we could get into what they do, but I think they get into serious problems. Let's see. Give me just a moment. Okay, let's consult higher authorities about this. I've never really studied the Gauranga Nagaris party. There are several books available. Suhotra Swami, I think, has written about the various Sahajiya Sampradayas. That may be a sort of accessible reference, going somewhat deeper into what those people do. But I just don't recall it. run into them. Let me just see. Yeah, you could look for Suhotra Swami's book about that. Okay. Something else?
Rakula, Masterji, would you like to say something?
Yes. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Prabhu. So Maharaj, you know, here in Guadalajara, we're sitting on this problem that, you know, we are kind of like hitting each other. You know, we're at war with who is a pure devotee and who is not a pure devotee, and who is following and who is not following the regulations, and what rumors and gossip can we create about this person not following this regulation and that person not following that regulation. And so we have an empty temple, like literally an empty temple. um, you know, there's no Sunday program. Um, if anything, it's on festivals. And this is mostly filled up by Indian, they're not devotees, they're Indian people that live here and that live here. But the community is really just thinning down because of this stick we have over each other. So nobody is qualified to take leadership of any kind. Nobody is qualified to give class. If somebody sits and gives class, everybody stands up and goes outside to hang out outside. I mean, it's literally that bad. Um, you know, so um, yeah, so that's where we are with like pure devotees and following regulations. It's almost like the flip side of the coin of saying, okay, I mean, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know, what should we do?
No, either. This is rather specific. You know, we have general understandings of Vaishnava Siddhanta, and then we have local social and political situations where this or that sort of problem arises. So on the local level, then you have to say, okay, what's going on here? Who's doing what? What should we do to set things right? That becomes like a very particular exercise. How do we, and South Africa particularly is complicated because you have racial consciousness that enters into things. You have different communities and their views. Then you have, you know, the Zulu Xhosa dichotomy. You get all sorts of things that mix in there, and then you've got, you know, apart from personal, just, you know, this person doesn't like that person. So you get everything quite, everything can become quite complex. So exactly what to do becomes a very particular exercise. But the main thing is that we should chant Hare Krishna. Kirtaniya Sarahari. In a humble state of mind, we should chant the holy name of the Lord. And if others badmouth me, all right, that's, you know, I had it coming because of my past karma or whatever. But let me go on chanting. Let me try and go on serving. And then those who are authentic leaders should try to encourage everyone, of course, to serve, and encourage those who are still clinging to material conceptions to rise above those conceptions and advance in the realm of pure devotional service. It's not that when we say pure devotee, there's some sort of like pure devotee test that we're going to take, and then you'll be a certified pure devotee, not like those others who are not pure devotees. But we should appreciate all the devotees who are chanting the holy names. And we should be a little, what's the word? Broad-minded or open-hearted and not stingy-minded. And at the same time, we should know that if somebody's indulging in intoxicants, gambling, meat eating, illicit sex, somebody's not following the basic program of devotional service, then we have a problem. We have to deal with that. But it requires good leadership qualities, sensitivity, and the right combination of tolerance and intolerance. It's again, it's a specific place, a specific time, specific people. So it's not just something for me to sit in Australia and comment about. It's something to deal with on the ground. Is that okay? Okay, thank you. Hare Krishna.
Praveen Prabhu writes, so do Prakrita Sahajiyas include those devotees who are conversant with the tattva of bhakti, but do not follow the four regs strictly?
Yes. Rupanuga Virud Tapa Siddhanta Dvanta Harine. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur opposed those who were following apasiddhanta, some contrary conclusion. Rupanuga Virud, some conclusions that were contrary to the teachings of Srila Rupa Goswami and his bona fide followers. So even though, there's so many people who follow the four regulative principles strictly, but they may not be Vaishnavas even, or they may not be following the teachings of Lord Chaitanya properly. So, yeah, we may know the tattva. In fact, I know there's one person who used to be an ISKCON devotee, and he became quite a learned scholar and published scholarly works about Gaudiya Vaishnavism, and he's been was quite out there in terms of quite visible in the academic world. And if you go to his website, you'll see that he says that one cannot understand Radha and Krishna unless one carries on a sexual relationship with a, forget how he says it, but basically to understand Radha and Krishna, you have to have an appropriate complementary devotional sexual relationship with someone. This, of course, is completely contrary to the teachings of the Goswamis, and totally in line with the Sahajiya conclusions. In fact, one scholarly devotee told me that he'd met with that devotee, and the devotee said, well, I guess I've become a Sahajiya. He sort of looked at himself and said, well, I guess that's what I am, because he was. He'd adopted although he was quite well conversant with Vaishnav Tattva, he took up a path which is contrary to the teachings of the Goswamis. So yes, it is possible to be both conversant and off course. Hare Krishna.
Murari Gupta Prabhu writes, Hare Krishna Maharaj, at times a kirtan can seem more about the singer than the holy name. Is it offensive to leave such a kirtan?
there's no rule that you have to stay. Brahmananda Prabhu recounted humorously that in the early days at Second Avenue, he would sometimes be exhausted during the kirtan because he thought that once you stood up, because we would chant Hare Krishna sitting, and then gradually devotees would, one after another, they'd get up and dance. And he thought that once you get up, you can't sit down again. That would be wrong. So, but there's no such rule that once you stand up in the kirtan, you can't sit down again. And I don't know of any rule that once you're in a kirtan, you have to stay there. Of course, we should appreciate that it's the holy name of the Lord. You should try not to have offensive thoughts about the kirtan or the devotees. But we may say, well, this is not the kind of kirtan that presses my buttons, and we may go away and seek out kirtan that's more in which we have more confidence or we find more inspiring. I don't know of any statement in Shastra that once you're in a kirtan, you can't leave it. I hope there's no such statement because I leave kirtan quite a bit.
Saraswati Mataji writes, Gurudev, you once talked of how Srila Prabhupada was furious when the Houston temple president was sent away because allegedly he wasn't following some regs. Srila Prabhupada didn't agree with this treatment.
Yeah, it was the Detroit temple president. Wasn't sent away, but he was replaced. Now we're getting a new president. And yes, Prabhupada didn't agree. He considered the substantial service that devotee had rendered, very substantial presence, service that the devotee had rendered, and wasn't willing to just dismiss him. And in general, his policy was that, all right, if somebody's not following, we should correct them. It's easy to send people away, but it's hard to bring people to devotional service. And if they come, then just to easily send them away is not very good. We should try to bring them to the standard. Hare Krishna.
Praveen Prabhu writes, continuing with Gokula Mataji's question, since we do not want to be poisoned, not even the least, when we are not sure of someone being in good standing, how open should be in hearing from them? As she shared, people won't be listening to anyone since not many are pure devotees.
Yeah, we can't be, in the name of pure devotional service, if we become hypercritical, then we won't be able to sit in any kirtan or associate with anyone because no one meets our standards of genuinely pure devotional service. This term, pure devotee, was quite a stretchable term in Prabhupada's usage. There's a famous letter I've cited several times to Tushta Krishna Maharaj concerning pure devotees and his idea, the devotee's idea that there was only one among Prabhupada's followers who was really a pure devotee. Prabhupada said, no, everyone, they're all pure devotees. All of my followers. Prabhupada wrote to Gopi Jana Ballabha Das when Gopijana was the temple president of ISKCON Brooklyn, that I'm going every day here in Vrindavan. I'm sitting and listening to the classes given by the disciples. Similarly, you should also do this. And Prabhupada said, don't try to be a greater Paramahansa than your Guru Maharaj. So Prabhupada set the example. Some of the devotees may be more advanced, some may be less advanced, but we should patiently sit and hear them. If we know that they're absolute nonsense, that may be different. We don't want to hear Mayavadi explanations, Mayavadi Pasha, Shunileva Sarvanash. One becomes completely spoiled if one hears the explanation of Mayavad philosophy. But generally, we don't find that. When we go outside, then anything may go. Anything may happen, and therefore Prabhupada was very protective. He was very protective if we would go outside. Why did they go there? Who was speaking? What did he say? Who told them they could go? He was very particular. But when it came to our ISKCON programs, then let them go on hearing, go on hearing, go on hearing. Maybe they're neophytes, maybe they're advanced, but as long as they're repeating what they've heard, then let us go on hearing. We may be old devotees, new devotees, but Prabhupada said, I'm hearing it. You can imagine the Prabhupada at his level of devotional service, but he's hearing what his disciples are speaking. He said, and he was enjoying it. So we should appreciate what's spoken by the devotees, unless you see something really terrible. They're pushing Mayavad, they're pushing Prakrita Sahaja, they're pushing something really off track. Then that may be another, or we know that they're doing all nonsense. That may be different. But otherwise, we don't have to hold everyone under an electron microscope and look for some faults. Then what about our faults? Hare Krishna.
Okay, I don't see anything in the chat.
This is text 135. Hari Bhakti Bilash are Bhagavatamrita, Dashama Tippani are Dashama Chorito. Some of the books compiled by Srila Sanatana Goswami were the Hari Bhakti Vilas, Brihad Bhagavatamrita, Dashama Tippani, and Dashama Chorita. Purport. In the first wave of the book known as the Bhakti Ratnakara, it is said that Sanatana Goswami understood Srimad Bhagavatam by thorough study and explained it in his commentary known as Vaishnava Toshini. All the knowledge that Sri Sanatana Goswami and Rupa Goswami directly acquired from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was broadcast all over the world by their expert service. Sanatana Goswami gave his Vaishnava Toshini commentary to Srila Jiva Goswami for editing, and Srila Jiva Goswami edited this under the name of Laghu Toshini. Whatever he immediately put down in writing was finished in the year 1476 Shaka, AD 1554. Srila Jiva Goswami completed the Laghu Toshini in the year Shakabda 1504, AD 1582, which means that Srila Jiva Goswami completed his editorial work after the departure of Srila Sanatana Goswami. The subject matter of the Hari Bhakti Vilas by Sri Sanatana Goswami was collected by Srila Gopal Bhatta Goswami and is known as a Vaishnav Smriti. This Vaishnav Smriti Granth was finished in 20 chapters known as Vilasas. In the first Vilas, there's a description of how a relationship is established between the spiritual master and the disciple, and mantras are explained. In the second Vilas, the process of initiation is described. In the third Vilas, the methods of Vaishnav behavior are given, with emphasis on cleanliness, constant remembrance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the chanting of the mantras given by the initiating spiritual master. In the fourth Vilas are descriptions of Sanskara, the reformatory method, Tilak, the application of 12 tilaks on 12 places of the body, Mudra, marks on the body, Mala, chanting with beads, and Guru Puja, worship of the spiritual master. In the fifth Vilas, one is instructed on how to make a place to sit for meditation, and there are descriptions of breathing exercises, meditation, and worship of the Shalagram Shila, representation of Lord Vishnu. In the sixth Vilas, the required practices for inviting the transcendental form of the Lord and bathing him are given. In the seventh Vilas, one is instructed on how to collect flowers used for the worship of Lord Vishnu. In the eighth Vilas, there's a description of the deity and instructions on how to set up incense, light lamps, make offerings, dance, play music, beat drums, garland the deity, offer prayers and obeisances, and counteract offenses. In the ninth Vilas, there are descriptions about collecting tulsi leaves, offering oblations to forefathers according to Vaishnava rituals, and offering food. Well, there are quite a bit more. Let's see. Yeah, I think we can stop here because otherwise we'll go over time and we won't have discussed anything. So why don't we stop here and have kirtan, and we can resume next time.
Sham Sindhu Prabhu, are you available for kirtan?
Okay. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Jai Om Vishnupad Purnamansa Parivrajakacharya Stotra Satushri Srimad A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Sridhar Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Jayādvaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shama Kunda Radha Kundi Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Navadvip Dham Ki Jai Jagannath Puri Ki Jai Ganga Mai Ki Jai Jamuna Mai Ki Jai Tulsi Devi Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glory is to the assembled devotees. All glory is to the assembled devotees. All glory is to the assembled devotees. Gaur Premanande Haribo.
His Holiness Jayādvaita Swami Maharaj Ki Jai.
Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Jai Haribo.
Haribo.
Thank you all. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Jai.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.